beginning, we started off very general by looking at tissue regeneration in different animals. We looked at the sea star, we looked at salamanders, we looked at the hydra. And then when we got to the human body, we looked at different processes that do use tissue regeneration, example the liver. In one study that we looked at, we examined mice and how they hypothesized that P21, which was turned off in humans, might have the potential to lead to further tissue regeneration if it was turned on. But the problem with having P21 turned on is that a lot of cancerous cells have P21 turned on. P21 is a tissue regenerating gene that is found in a lot of those cancerous cells. And we also looked at P53, which also regulates cancer cells as well. And so we just began to continue to look at different processes until we found silver, medicinal silver.
Our main focus on our research project was medicinal silver's use in tissue regeneration. So we looked at different processes of using this. The two that we came across in detail was silver nitrate and nanocollagen silver scaffolding.
We concluded for the first two processes, silver nitrate and silver impregnated wound dressings, we decided that's perfectly ethical because it doesn't impede anybody else's life. It doesn't change or affect anybody else except for the patient.
Amniocentesis is a method of prenatal testing that is commonly used when an abnormality is detected during an ultrasound. This procedure uses a syringe to withdraw amniotic fluid from the amniotic sac. This amniotic fluid then undergoes testing to see if there are any genetic abnormalities. Amniocentesis can be used to detect over 80 diseases, including Down syndrome, Tay-Sachs disease, and cystic fibrosis.
In 1966, the development of tissue culture techniques were further developed, and this led to prenatal diagnosis being a possibility by being able to use fetal cells from embryonic sacs. This led to further ethical concerns because people wanted to be able to do amniocentesis for first trimester versus third trimester, and this had concerns due to the smaller space and it may have caused some complications. So a test was done in 1978 by the National Institute of Child and Health and Human Development. They found that mid-trimester amniocentesis is an accurate and highly safe procedure that does not add significant risk to the pregnancy.
Well, furthermore, according to a survey done in 1993, mothers felt it would be more difficult to give birth to a child with disabilities if they had not gone through prenatal diagnosis. This shows that the action is done from duty. The mothers felt it would be more difficult if they were not prepared for the handicapped child, so preparing for the child with amniocentesis is the duty of a parent who wants to have their child have a good life. Yeah.
Could you make the assumption that it is selfish reasoning on behalf of the mother, or could it be possibly for the greater good of the infant if it was going to have suffering or like muscular dystrophy or some type of genetic disorder that would give them a lower quality of life?
So the use of embryonic stem cell research has been justifiable through Mill's theory of utilitarianism and through the guidelines set in place by the government. There are a lot of ethical concerns that accompany the future research possibilities with embryonic stem cells. For example, clinics claiming to have false effective stem cell therapies. People who are desperately seeking cures are going to go to these clinics and will pay large sums of money and will not check for credibility. There are lots of future possibilities with embryonic stem cell research. Right now, they are trying to find new sources to get stem cells through the placenta, umbilical cord, and through the amniotic fluid.
Then, because the greatest level of happiness was for people of the middle class. So they were often subjugated to very horrific conditions in workhouses, prisons, hospitals, and actually often would end up as anatomy subjects. That they were then used to do medical advances, and this was justified using mills. So could you maybe think about how your position could be defended against the idea that the past could be repeated?
A pheromone is an involuntary secreted substance from an animal in order to provoke certain behaviors in another animal. A common example of this is taking a dog on a walk. You would see with a dog that they sniff their territory. The organs that are responsible for this are the vomeronasal organ and the olfactory system in your body. These systems are hypothesized to detect pheromones, and they're also linked to the hypothalamus, which aids in the secretion of sex-linked hormones.